We are Dexian, in the business for good.
I invite Mr. Kalyan on stage, which is based on AgriTech or AgriTech, however you'd like to pronounce it.
Good evening, gentlemen. Great panel discussion, right? I think a lot of things to learn from. Sukumar, I think I know him from the past, so it's always been an inspiration. Thank you for coming. So just a personal thanks from my side. Again, like I said, it's a privilege to be here with a lot of change leaders and visionaries. Good evening once again. I'm Kalyan. I manage delivery for our US customers, and I'm based out of India. I don't need to set the context for this discussion, right? Mr. Maruf and Kumar have already done that, and so it's made it easy. I don't have to do a long introduction here, right? I think it's getting disrupted, like AgriTech is getting disrupted in many ways. We're seeing a lot of things happening there. It's also leading to a lot of sustainable practices, which is helping the ecosystem and our communities, which is a big thing that we are all proud of, right? And last but not the least, the market space is becoming so big that I think it can become a 24 billion in the next 2-3 years, which is what we see as a huge opportunity for all of us. Now, in Dexian, right, we've been in this journey. We jumped on the bandwagon much earlier, right, 3-4 years back, and we've been doing a lot of work. Again, Mr. Kumar elaborated that. A lot of good work that's been done, right? And thanks to our teams to have done this. We started with what we did for the Bihar government, right? The Bihar platform. We touched about 17-18 million lives of farmers across the ecosystem there. Now the Agmark Net that we are doing, the partnership with the central government is huge. It's going to touch many more, right? I think from what Venkat keeps saying, it's about 50x from what we did with Bihar. So huge opportunities, right? And we are learning consistently from all these. And that's why this session is very important for us. The panel that I'm going to call forward is a set of folks who are change leaders in their own areas. They've spent a lot of time on technology and AgriTech in focus. And let me do the honors in calling each of the panelists one by one. First, I would call Dr. Srikanth, who's from ICRISAT. Right. He's the leader behind Digital Agriculture Initiatives. Welcome, Dr. Srikanth. And the iHub, which is ICRISAT's innovation platform for agri-startups, right? With over 23 years, I think he's a leader in new-gen technology areas. And what is his passion? He's been empowering smallholder farmers and digital tools that make farming smarter and more profitable. Next, Mr. Fani Kumar Tota from Samanuti. He's the Chief Operating Officer at Samanuti. He's a financial wizard, and I'm always afraid of finance guys, right? They have too much data, they keep talking about a lot of stuff, and they always pin you on something that you don't have, right? But I hope Mr. Fani will give us a lot of insights into what he's doing. He's a powerhouse in trade finance and cross-border formalities. And what he does is his insights into financial innovation are helping bridge the gap between farmers and resources they need to thrive upon. Welcome. Thank you. Next, Mr. Pratik, the dynamic founder of Colored Cloud Consulting. Welcome, Mr. Pratik. Very welcome. And more than 2 decades of experience in building software solutions that drive innovation and social impact, right? I think what we are learning from Pratik is a proof of how you can put technology for good. And he will definitely, and with the panel, share a lot of stuff on how we can do different stuff on AgriTech, right? And to lead this discussion is our very local Tala, Mr. Venkat, who's the head of solutions for India and Middle East geographies, right, for Dexian.
Thanks.
He spent over 30 years in the IT industry, been with Dexian for 6+ years. I guess when I look at him, right, he's a guy who's done a lot of digital transformation for large customers, incubated new technology centers of excellences, you name it, data analytics, AML, the list goes on. I think you can write a book on Venkat, right? So, but I'll keep it short. And what he's also, I think what really is his uncanny ability is take large customer complex problems that customers have and put in simple, innovative solutions in new technology areas, right? And that's also helping Dexian in becoming a global hub for digital transformation. I think that's what our Thala brings to the table. We'll hear from him on how he can drive a lot of things that he wants to do for Dexian on the AgriTech space, specifically within the India geography. And then hopefully we will all learn from his experience plus the panel's experience, right? So thank you, Venkat. Floor is yours.
Wonderful. Well, thank you. Good evening, everyone. Good evening to my esteemed panelists. Kalyan, you've been extremely kind to me by calling me Tala. Dhoni is one of my favorite cricketers, so thank you. I'll take that any time of the day, on any day. So we have a exciting discussion ahead of us for the next, 25 to 30 minutes. Hopefully, we get a lot out of our esteemed guests here. But before we dive into the discussion, I'd like to briefly touch upon the incredible evolution we are witnessing in the agri-tech industry. Agriculture has always been vital to the India GDP. We all know that. We have millions of farmers who are the backbone of the country. Agri-tech is in the forefront of driving that. Things like seed traceability, AI-driven insights for financial products. It's just making sure that there's efficiency, sustainability, and growth in the system. The potential to transform agriculture is immense, and there's a lot that we can get from our esteemed panelists. And I really want to thank them for being here, and we invited them in short notice, and they're here. So without further ado, I'll go to the first question. So would that be okay, sir, if I started with you, Dr. Srikanth? So I know that the government is doing a lot. The central government and the state government is doing a lot for the farmers. And it'll be great for us to understand how ICRISAT is part of that process. And more importantly, for us to understand how there's a PPP model, which I'm sure you can expand on for our audience. How does that actually work?
I'm sorry, but I would like to say that ICRISAT, if you do not know much about it, it's the only UN-based research organization that is based in India, thanks to Indira Gandhi. So we have the state-of-the-art infrastructure for all the agri council directorates of India, state agriculture universities. If you find something done in India, it is all because of the investments made from around the world into ICRISAT. So I stand here, sit here to tell you that 10 years back when we started to work on artificial intelligence, because most of us who are into agri background will understand that mathematics and statistics is way behind when they choose biological sciences after +2. So most of the students who come from agri universities, they're scared about numbers, but without numbers, science doesn't exist. Mathematics is a part of science. And some of us who got educated outside will be aware, you have to deal with your data. And everything right now that we are talking about artificial intelligence or the generative AI or anything that comes as a new disruptor has a lot of maths into it. And I can actually tell you, even now, the universities do not have anything about digital agriculture or anything to do with mathematics. There is a course. Of course, there is a course on mathematics. But most of the scientific community outsource their data to a statistician. Without knowing your data, you can't interpret it well. The statistician has their own way of interpreting it. So I come back to your question of 10 years back when we started working, we had a resistance from even the state agriculture universities and the Indian Council of Agriculture Research to understand what artificial intelligence applications, why are you talking about AI in agriculture of all the places? It was so difficult to even make people understand. I'm talking about director of research and people at high level in universities to understand that, yes, there is something that we don't know, but it's going to change the way agriculture is done in India. We partnered with a German startup who eventually became an Indian startup based in Indore. And it's the first AI application which has got more than 40 million downloads and with a monthly average 1 million users from around India and the globe. So you can imagine the smartness of Indian farmers in adopting to change. We think they do not consume the semi-literate farmers are behind, but I think if there is a product that takes care of their necessity, just like we delete an app which we download when we don't use, so also they do. All we need to focus is on the user interface and the experience, which is so less. I can assuredly tell you the other sectors, I'm glad I could see some of the sectors from health sciences. You adopt things faster. The industry funds you. But for agriculture, show me those research and development organizations which are funding the industry funds, except for inputs. What do you see about outputs? Why are the farmers still on the rampage against the policies? One of the best policies was introduced 3 years ago, but nobody liked it because you don't find the private players sitting with the government and the farmers in the discussions. We assume many things about agriculture sector, but I can assuredly tell you the variability that is inbuilt is so high. To make a product, it is not the conventional products that you can make in the other sectors, even the LLMs. You have to give a recommendation. I'm glad to see that you have started working on it. And ultimately the market net, it's inside me actually. I did a post-harvest technology PhD by research, but I could not solve the post-harvest issues right here in India. I have evolved myself into the upcoming AI part of digital agriculture. And I see ICRISAT's role in starting the innovation hub so that the private players have a big role in Indian agriculture. It can't only depend on government funds, government schemes, and the government extension services, which is primarily the real bane of our farmers is they're not available at the right time. If each feet on ground has to cater to thousands of farmers in a growing season, how do you make it? So you'll see the extension services really crippled, and AI solutions are the key for bringing back the interest for farmers in our country. And ICRISAT, with public-private partnerships, we believe that that is the future for our agriculture sector. And it will really bring the change that we think, especially not only for food security, but the nutritional security of this country. We are lagging behind in many aspects of nutrition.
Thank you, sir.
Cheers.
Thank you. That was very, very insightful on how farmers, we just don't have the right technology and the right apps for that the farmers can actually use. Thank you for that. I have the next question for Mr. Fani. So we know that smallholder farmers are the biggest percentage of all the farmers in India, but they face a lot of challenges in adopting technology. Sir just talked about that, Dr. Srikanth. So, that is about digital literacy. It's also about financial literacy. So what steps has Samanathi taken to enable, faster adoption and ensuring that there's working capital for farmers? How are you actually helping them?
Thank you, Venkat, and thank you, Dexian, for this opportunity. Actually, there is a belief that these smallholder farmers are not that tech savvy, or they have there are some gaps in their understanding of the technology and etc. But if you have designs which are simple to operate, they are very, very highly, they get adopted to those technologies. For example, when we go to the grassroots levels, we notice the usage of YouTube to understand what is happening across, or the usage of the Google Pay for their small payments is extensively used. So technology literacy among farmers, smallholder farmers, is not a big challenge according to Samanathi.
Wow.
The way that is how we actually realize at the grassroots levels. So there is an interesting framework in the country. The smallholder farmers are all aggregated into your farmer collectives or farmer producer companies. So which are a group of farmers coming together and forming a company which represents their requirements, and these companies engage with us. So Samaniti is actively involved in engaging with these farmer producer companies or the farmer collectives, and typically these companies are represented by young farmers who are tech savvy, who have a complete understanding of how to operate the various systems. And we noticed that providing them a proper platform is one of the important need which we realized. And Samanati has worked towards providing them a proper platform where they can actually look forward for their input requirements, because that is the core. They require the inputs for doing the producing the required products, goods, and etc. So that is one design. The second one is the output needs of theirs, how to fulfill their output needs. The important challenge which everyone knows, that is the availability of credit to these farmers. So the platform supports in various instruments on how a credit can be extended. And there is an entire consumer marketplace which is getting designed in this entire flow. So platform-based approach has actually really helped Samanati in reaching out the end farmer, smallholder farmers and their farmer collectives. And we see that as long as we make simple designs, easily adoptable, accessible designs, usage should not be a problem, adoption should not be a problem. That is what is our realization.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you, sir. I see a lot of correlation between what Dr. Srikanth had to share and what Mr. Fani had to share in terms of building the right product, building the right marketplace. In your case, you're talking about inputs, outputs, and the financial products that they can leverage, and the right platform that you want to build. And that platform concept is something that I've heard in the government sector as well. So there's a lot of platforms that are being built to ease the pain of the farmer. So thank you for that, sir. So Prateek, so we talk about usability. We've already heard from Dr. Srikanth, and of course Mr. Fani had to share that if they have the right thing, they would use it. So what does Colored Curve do to simplify these tools? What's your work?
I think I'm the one who will take the blame, right? So everything is perfect.
I'm happy to know that.
Policies are perfect, and the execution is supposed to be perfect, but I create those digital platforms. So I'm here that someone that who should take the blame for, let's say, usability, as such. But what Colored Cow thinks that, and what we are trying with Dexian now with AgMarkNet is that, our philosophy that the usability should be elaborated further. Let's say that, the farmer's ecosystem should be in the consideration. For example, let's say if we create an application where we empower the farmer to, negotiate on the price of his crop, right? But we tend to forget that if you make him empowered or powerful, there's already a power broker existing in the ecosystem, right? So he's going to react on that. So you build that beautiful UI, UX or whatever, but it fails the next moment the reality hits the road then, in that way. So I'm proud of our new partnership with Dexian that, and the philosophy we are setting up that let's create some application as an example for the world and take this thing beyond boundaries that, that. So I'm pretty excited that the challenge is there, but Colored Cow and, companies like us, we are taking its heads up in that way.
Well, thank you. I really thank you because, they had so much to share about how we should make it usable, and you gladly took the blame. I appreciate that. Not many often you get to hear that and from one of your co-panelists and who's an esteemed person. So thank you for that. Let me actually go back to Dr. Srikanth. So we know that there's a trust deficit. When we were working in Bihar, we knew that the farmers were very hesitant in sharing their personal data with the government, and also a lot of questions about how they would in turn share that information with private players who rightfully want to position the right products for them, etc. So what steps can be taken to bridge this deficit gap? Now I can tell you that when we built the Bihan platform and we continue to operate it, we were operating that data on behalf of the government. There is no way that we could share that data with anyone else without the written consent of the government. and we have APIs established that would have people access it. So this much I know, but I really would like to know how could, something like responsible AI, and Ashu Bhatia talked about responsible AI, how could that help in bridging that trust?
Well, this is a very challenging thing because governments trust only few private players, not everybody. You all know. So we have to, I think the AgriStack that they are talking, if you see this year they launched so that everybody is on the same plane and everybody shares the data, uses the data. It's available for private players to actually use it. This is very ambitious. I believe if this trust deficit that is existing, because so many players have gone into and interacted with farmers, everybody has a motivation. Private players have a motivation, government players who deals with the same farmer has a different motivation, the truckies, everybody in the chain, everybody, even a research institute like ours, we have a different motivation. So what happens when we keep going to the farmers, all of them with different motivations? I think it's very confusing sometimes, because even if you see government departments, so many departments dealing with the same village, but because we have diversified so much that we don't have a single window actually so that the farmers can approach for a problem, and there is no sense of, that personalized attention for solving it in agriculture. So I'm not surprised this is not just Bihar issue, it is issue everywhere. I think the way forward is how can government take a step back and allow private players, into this PPP mode where there is an agreement basically about what the government is always fearful of what you do. I mean, I'm talking about you private guys with those data. Where do you host it? Are you selling it to somebody else? As somebody talked easily about privacy issue, I'm telling you it's serious thing actually now. If you see the number of phone calls that you get in your own mobile phones, what is going to happen to this data of these farmers who have no idea it is their land, issue about their geo-fenced information, their personal data? Where is it going? Is it safe enough? So government concerns are from that side for governance, which are legitimate, and we should all be very happy that we can play a role which will ensure that. See, it should not be hindrance for doing innovations or introducing good technologies to our farmers. So it's the other way around. So I think government way back in 2020 during the pandemic, the Prime Minister Office through Niti Aayog started this discussion with research organizations. Microsoft guys were there, Reliance. I'm talking about the big players also in Niti Aayog on responsible AI. Not just agri sector, but all the sectors.
All the sectors.
So there is a publication, if you want to see, it's in 2022 publication on principles and stuff like that. But how far it will be actually implemented, that's a question which we do not know. But as far as my knowledge goes in participation, while participating in these interactive things, even 2 days back I was for Digital Agriculture Conference that was initiated by Indian Council of Agriculture Research. The main question that still remains unanswered is, who is going to pay for the good quality data that is generated by the private players?
Wow.
The ambition is to have everything centralized, make it open for everyone to use, but there should be somebody in between to take care of those costs to generate those very important quality data that comes from private industry. And I'm very amazed with the AgMarkNet that you started. The real problem is somebody is giving assurance like Amazon or some other big player, but in agriculture, are you going to do that role? How are you going to do it? Not just quality. So there are big issues because of that. So that can be solved by the private players. Because you see ENAM is there. The volume of agriculture produce is huge. Yeah, you give a photograph that was so good for the fish. Send a grain one or something fresh produce to a longer distance without looking at quality. What happens when it reaches from 100, 500 kilometers away? These are the questions still unanswered, but the private players need to sit on these very important assurances. If you get it.
Absolutely.
This is the challenge you will be having it.
So
may I pitch in?
Please.
Right? But first I was afraid of, getting the blame. Now I may get some beating here. So my take is that, getting data from the government is tough.
Yeah.
And the data is not good enough. Right? What we realize and what we're thinking about AgMarkNet is that, we should think about having the hyper-local data that, from the farmer's context itself. Right? That's the first thing that, around data.
Absolutely.
And that's where I see AI that, helping me out. That let's say that, with AgMarkNet, we are scanning with OCR the purchase or the register that, Babus are having. So to validate that and to make it better, we are trying to implement an AI model around it, right? So that's how I see that this ecosystem is a bit different, but I don't want to take panga with, that the government data is not good.
I think you bring up a very important point that, look, AI we are using to make it higher quality data. We right now are doing it in partnership with Colored Cow. This is a fact. I know it because our engineers are working on it. The other question is, once that data is intact, who gets to validate it and how do you protect it? I think Dr. Srikanth talked about who owns the data, how do you make that accessible to someone like even Samunati? And when Samunati has data on farmers, on FPOs, how do they then confidently share that data with someone else? And I think it comes down to who has those reforms, the data reforms, etc., so that there's a consistent standard in which you can share that data. I can tell you, sir, in the case of Bihan, we have put a cybersecurity wall around that data like there's no tomorrow. There are multiple layers, so no one can get in because it's government data, and we know the importance of it. It's the same thing with AgMarkNet. In the case of Bihan, we got the luxury of keeping it in a private cloud, and then we moved it in. We are just in the process of moving it to the state data center. In the case of AgMarkNet, the data is going to reside in the government cloud. So there's a lot that we need to unpack with what you've said. But in the interest of time, I'm going to go to Mr. Funny. But thank you for bringing that point about data security and who gets to share it with whom and confidently. So thank you for that. Mr. Funny, we were talking about the FPOs, how the farmers get to form the FPOs, and you have a platform approach. I'm wondering, how do you elaborate, if you can take us through an example of a key challenge that you've solved for an FPO with this platform that you've built. It'll be wonderful for us and for the audience.
Yeah, one of the important challenges which all of you are aware is the availability of the credit. The availability of the credit to these small holder farmers or the farmer producer companies, that is their ability to raise loans. That is a key challenge currently which majority of these farmers face. So what, as India is actually moving very fast on the credit bureau information being available, decisions to extend loans is more scientific with banks and the financial institutions. A good track record of credit is actually helps you to get more loans. That is how the entire design is. And especially in this farmers category, this history is not available. This is the major challenge which financial institutions and banks actually find it to give and extend support to do these FPOs or FCs.
Right.
So what Samunati has done is somewhere someone has to take the lead. So the lead has been taken, according to me, by Samunati. And what we have done is we started engaging at these grassroots levels, established, practiced credit policies, onboarded these clients, and started building a solid record of their performance of repayment.
Wow.
So that the information goes across the various credit bureaus.
Right.
And when inquired about their credit track, people can get to know about how they are repaying, what are the cyclical payments they are doing, and the credit history is built, and their ability to raise the required financial support can be established. So this is one design which has been built, and we are progressing. To answer the earlier question which I had,
Please.
so the data, availability of data, say for example, there are 30,000 active farmer producer companies in the country. And Samunati has collaborated with the government and actually made this information available in our platform, so that you get to know about where is this farmer producer company, how many members are connected to this farmer producer company, what is their current standings, in which commodities they handle,
Wonderful.
which geography they actually operate out. So all these informations are available as a data connecting to that earlier question. But yeah, credit is a challenge and we are working consciously. It takes some time because history has to be built about these farmers, but I think we are on the path.
Wonderful, sir. Wonderful. Thank you. May I ask you one clarificatory question? So you talked about the credit history being built within the Samanati platform and you're making it available to the credit bureau so those farmers get benefited. So are you making this information available via an API to some other organization, or are you doing it on your website?
So what I meant is once we extend a financial support to a FPO,
right,
and create a repayment track record of that FPO,
right,
and keep reporting these informations in various credit bureaus,
I see.
The track is already built there, which is available for anyone to refer and take a decision.
Got it.
So that's the design in which we are pushing it.
Wonderful, wonderful. So I think as an organization that makes credit available for them, you're in a point of there's an authentic source that the credit bureau gets that information, and that actually builds the credit history for the farmer. That's wonderful to know. And you also talked about the 13,000 FPO data being made available to the government. I think it's a part of giving back, or is it available to the public?
Yeah, it is available to the public. In collaboration with the government, we made it available to the public.
In collaboration with the government, you made it available to the public. Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Fani. So I know we are running up on time. I see a 0 on the counter here, which means that I'm out of time. But would love to take a question from the audience. I have something here, but I really wanted to see if any of you have a question for our esteemed panelists here. Trust me, I can't see if you have your hands raised, so unless you speak up, I wouldn't know. Yes, please. You're going to get up.
Thanks for this meaningful insights what we learned today. I have one query. As already doing many automation in terms of providing good prices for farmers and yielding their crops also. And what about the water management? Do you have any automation for water automation also?
If I get your question right, are you asking about is there any automation solution for water management?
Yeah, I mean to supply the perfect, I mean required water supply for the agriculture fields. So
right.
In India, there is a problem of water crisis everywhere. So how we are managing in terms of helping the farmers?
Yeah, I mean IoT sensors for soil moisture and automating the irrigation is there. There are many private startups who are doing that, but as ICRISAT, we are trying to validate that. Because even CDAC, Government of India's organization, has their own sensors. They are at a price. So right now in the market, like NetFM has come out, it's working very well in orchards. So if you're not aware, this is already there. The Israeli company has come out with wonderful one. But some local startups also have come out with this. So automation is there, but it is highly customized for this farm. So there is technology, there are sensors. There is the IoT sensors being used with dashboards. Private companies have come with that, but we have to be careful on how to customize it to your local farm. So that's the key, because having technology and customization in agriculture for different commodities, the water use efficiency should be calculated. The requirements of water budgeting is different. So the agronomy is different. So mind you, this is agriculture. So every commodity, every crop has a different variety. So there are short duration and a long duration. So these headaches you don't have in your other areas, but you will face them here. So we have to be mindful of those type of customization or tweaking those tools and technologies for your local farms. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I think it's time, and I would like to wrap this up, but I really want to share how grateful we are for our esteemed panelists to come, attend this event, share your insights, and I hope it's a beginning of a very long partnership for Dexian with each one of you gentlemen and with your organizations. We are really committed to this sector, like Mr. Maroof talked about it. And we take a certain pride and passion in this. So, and you have unpacked so much about data availability, confidentiality, and we really look forward to playing a role in this space. And I can say that the aspect of AI in AgMarkNet is something that we're seeing. For example, one of the use cases is, can you assay and grade the quality of the produce that comes into a mandi? And that's a use case that we need to solve for the government. And if we can solve it at scale, then that is helpful for every farmer, who comes into that mandi. So I'm very hopeful that we are in the, in one of the forefronts in trying to solve it, and hope to contribute back to the society. But thank you so much for being here. Thanks everyone for listening in. Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much to Venkat sir and the entire panel. I would now request Mr. Maruf. Maruf sir, please can we have you on stage to felicitate our panelists?
We are Dexian. In the business for good.